Hey everyone, welcome to episode 107. I'm your host Stelios and the founder and director of Ceres Pure Food Innovation. We have no updates for this episode, so where possible, I'd like to keep the intros short and sweet. But take a second to click and share of any of our social media feeds. It really helps others that are interested find us. If you like this episode, then the chances are that your friends in the industry may like it too. I always want to hear your feedback, so feel free to email me at any time. May have noticed we've started slotting these little ads at the beginning of the podcast. We will never insert ads in the middle to break the conversation. We hope that's cool with you. It just gives us a chance to highlight what we do, but what others do to support us too. As mentioned in the last episode and previous episodes, we are making some changes to the podcast. We're not going to keep harping on about it. Just be aware, though, that you may see a different icon at some point in your feeds and online. So, yeah, if you've got any feedback, keep it coming. It's really great. And also, you can email me anytime at stelios@theworldofceres.com. I thought it would be good to promote the fish cake mix today, especially as it's a fish-related episode. So, everybody in the food business is really busy. We know that. It's obvious. You also balance the need with making more profit by selling unique food to customers. In our view, you should make profit when you're closed and sales when you're open. Now, cast your mind to butchers for a moment. They don't only sell fillet steak or ribeye, do they? They've got multiple cuts. Then all of the trimmings go into something like sausages. Think of how they turned a low-value ingredient with no real importance into 8, 9, 10, 12 pound a kilo. The Ceres fish cake mix is the solution for increasing your profits on your most premium product of fish. Why give customers more than they deserve or more than they want to pay for and ruin your gross profits? You can trim the fish of your choice to the perfect weight and size and not worry about what's due with the trimmings. By making homemade fish cakes, you can increase your profits and sales at the same time. I know what you're thinking. Well, I can just use the potatoes or chips that I have on site. But the fact is, by the time you've even brought them to the boil, you'll be finished using the Ceres fish cake mix. We have put together so many recipes to get you started, but you'd just be crazy not to increase loyalty and profits by not serving homemade fish cakes in your business. Increase your sales and profits today. Order the Ceres fish cake mix from worldofceres.com. This episode is with Daniel. Daniel is from PHL Seagold, but many of you may have heard of their longliner Leinebris, which is known for its great haddock and cod. I was introduced to their product from a good friend of mine, David Miller, from Miller's in Haxby. You may be wondering about Daniel's accent. I like to describe it as a blend of Norwegian and Birmingham, but let's not hold that against him. PHL Seagold is a family company that offers premium white fish, fresh frozen at sea, from Norwegian fishing vessels. What I didn't know is that they also have a very prominent business in selling headless and gutted haddock and cod into Grimsby. And as you'll hear on the podcast, there is another place in the world with an English name that absolutely loves cod and haddock as much as we do. With all the haddock shortages, we just thought it would be a great time to get this podcast out there. So I really hope you enjoy it. Daniel, welcome to the podcast, mate.
Thank you.
So for those that don't know you, you are from PHL Seagold, but many may not know that name. So tell us a little bit about PHL Seagold and what it is that you guys do in Norway.
Yeah, well, I'm the sales director in PHL Seagold, which is the sales company for the longliner Leinebris. We are a family company. So I'm in the office with my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law, my wife. So I'm sure you can imagine that is pretty insane. And at sea, my brother-in-law is the skipper on board the vessel that produces headed and gutted fish and frozen at sea fillets. Our heritage goes back to 1898 when my wife's great-great-grandfather started the company with a tiny wooden fishing boat. And times have certainly changed since then, because today we operate a top modern longliner. So in many ways you can say that fish runs through our blood, really. We probably look like a cod and smell like a haddock, but we enjoy what we do anyway. And we've sold fish to the UK since the 1980s, predominantly headed and gutted fish to processors, but we produced frozen at sea fillets since 2015. Leinebris, our vessel, is one of around 25 longliners, frozen at sea longliners in Norway. 4 of these can produce fillets. The rest do headed and gutted production. And nearly all these 25 companies are family companies with a knowledge about the ocean and the fishing grounds that goes back many generations. The Barents Sea can be rough, cold, terrifying. It can be beautiful also. But nevertheless, you have challenging conditions, and Norwegian fishermen have a know-how and a passion that can't really be described. And these fishermen are keeping the family traditions alive. And in PHL, we are fortunate to work with a lot of these fishermen. And typically, when they come to port, after 4 to 6 weeks out at sea, we might purchase a few hundred tons of cod or haddock, which then we would sell to our customers worldwide, be it in China or USA, several European countries, and of course the UK. We trade around 10,000 tons of headed and gutted fish each year. Our most important market is the UK, absolutely, because here we sell both headed and gutted fish and fillets. So a typical customer of ours would be a processor in Grimsby, which supplies a top retailer, or a wholesaler to the fish and chip shops. So in many ways, in PHL, we are kind of a link between the cold, clear Barents Sea and the market.
So when you're selling H&G to, let's say, a processor in Grimsby, is that when we describe, for example, what people call defrost, where you'd be selling it frozen at sea, H&G, and then the processor gets it in Grimsby and then processes it further and then sells it as fresh? Is that what they call defrost?
Yeah, that is what they call defrost, or they can also in the UK, you guys use different terms than we do here in Norway, so I might get things mixed up again. But you have this refreshed or defrost, which is in the fish counter. Yeah. And you also have, I think perhaps you call it chilled products, that you have them in this, packs, fillets in packs, for example. So, and that's one thing which is very inspiring for us to see when we come to sort of Grimsby and visit our customers, and we see our fish in these fantastic state-of-the-art processing plants, and we see that massive operation. And then you go to the Marks and Spencers of the world, and you see our fish in the shops. It's extremely cool. And since we started with fillet production in 2015, it's been awesome to see how the fish and chip shops operate, because excellent fish and chips don't happen by accident. They are really a result of attention to detail and hard work. So we are extremely proud when we hear a name or we see that somebody's using our brand.
Yeah, of course, and you're right. It doesn't happen on accident. It takes a lot of effort to get it right. So PHL Seagold sells only family product, or does it source and sell other product too?
Yeah, well, the core of our business is fish caught on board Leinebris, which we own and operate. But you have the whole frozen at sea longline fleet consists of around 25 longliners.
Okay,
and we buy fish from several of these longliners here. We have close cooperation with them. We are, after all, side by side with them in the Barents Sea. Every day. So we need more volume than what Leinebris can provide, because a processor in the UK, he will need thousands and thousands of tons, as will a haddock processor in the USA. So we bought from several vessels, work closely with them, have done that for donkey's years, and it is really fantastic to have that close relationship between the fishing fleet and the processing market, or the fish and chip market. Really.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about Leinebris. Is that primarily haddock or cod or both?
We have quotas for cod, for haddock, for saithe, for Greenland halibut. You have free quota for tusk and ling, catfish, a few other species. But cod and haddock are the most important species for more or less any vessel in Norway. So and the UK is now perhaps Norway's most important market for cod and haddock, because you eat such a lot of it.
Yeah, well, I've been questioning for a long time I don't mean eco-sustainability of the seas, but the sustainability of one nation eating so much cod and haddock. Like, how sustainable can that be? Like, and I think a lot of people, because obviously in the UK, we've got what's called the big five, and that's cod, haddock, tuna, prawn, and salmon. And I think, at the top of the list has got to be cod and haddock. And can that be, is that a good thing? Should we be eating more coley, which is saithe? Should we be eating more tusk, halibut, ling? There's so much more going on, and we're just sticking to those 5 species. Can that, do you see what I mean by that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you want to just continue eating those 5 species, it isn't a problem at all, because Norway protects its fish stock, we protect the ocean, and we can touch on that later. That isn't a problem. But I, for one, would go for ling, eat ling. Crikey, it's a fantastic fish. It's delicious. It's not used in everyday cooking, but it's firm, it's tender, it's white, it's tasty. It's often useful for salted ling. But I think it can be used in fish and chips, absolutely. Saithe or coley, for example, of course, if you eat your fish and chips and you sort of stare at the fish meat, you will see that it isn't as white as cod. You will see a grey color, but saithe is such a tasty fish. It is such rich in taste. So I think that would be awesome too as fish and chips.
I absolutely love coley or saithe. I think I don't mind the color; it doesn't bother me whatsoever, and I think the flavor is great. And obviously, if one person is substituting that meal with that would have been cod, let's say, but if they have saithe once or ling once a week or month or however often they eat, it sort of takes the emphasis off that main species. I think I spoke to a fisherman a while ago about ling, and he said the reason why ling isn't as popular as cod is probably because the bones go all the way quite far up the backbone, whereas with cod, they don't apparently as much, or it's a bigger fillet and you don't see it as much. But again, the premium emphasis is always on cod and haddock, and it is because they are the fillet steak of the sea, aren't they? Really, they are almost perfect, aren't they?
Yeah, and markets are very traditional. You guys want cod and haddock. It's impossible to get a Brit to eat Tuscan ling, and if you go to Italy, you can't get an Italian to eat haddock, for example. And likewise, if you go to Boston on the northeast coast of the US, everything that is in his or her head on a Friday, that's haddock. So I think it's all about traditions and just history. Also, it's difficult to sort of change this here.
Yeah.
But the ling, for example, is so similar to cod. At least when you have it on your plate, it's so similar. The color, the taste, and everything. I think it would be a fantastic addition to any menu, really. and it doesn't have to be light salted. It can be natural.
Have you ever tried selling, whether it's frozen at sea or frozen Ling, to the likes of, the Smales and the Fry's Prides and all of this? Have you ever tried saying to them, "Here, look at this," or is it just
never?
Never.
No, not at all. Well, to be fair, I mean, tusk, I don't think it's something we would produce fillets of, because it's just it is a tricky fish just to sort of get through your machines when you are on board the vessel. It's a whole different operation when you are on land, and you can salt it, etc. But as a natural fillet, I don't think tusk is something we would sort of perhaps do for the UK. But Ling is a much better alternative. Again, it's a bit. It is, the skin is so deep, it's difficult to do on board the vessel. But it would be really great if someone, if someone in Norway, together with somebody in the UK, together with the Norwegian Seafood Council, said, let's do a promotion of some sort, whether it be in retail, limited volume, or as part of National Fish and Chip Day or Seafood Week or whatever, that you focus on Ling for a short period and just test the reaction, and you have some marketing around it also.
Yeah, I think it's needed. I think for me, I've said for a long time, there's just too much focus on the main species, and by that I mean cod and haddock. So, yeah, I think with inconsistencies and quotas being dropped, it wouldn't hurt if there was some, something else because I'm not a big fan of pollock. I'm not going to lie to you. I think whenever I've had it, whether it's fresh, frozen at sea, IQF, I've always found it a bit dry. The tolerance in pollock when you fry it, it's a very small tolerance. If you go over ever so slightly, it's just very dry. So I actually prefer Coley and Ling over pollock every day of the week. Yeah. Because Coley can be as big as cod, can't it? Maybe I've never seen it in 32 plus size, but I've seen it in 1632. Is that right?
Possibly. I mean, on longliner we don't produce frozen sea fillets from Coley. Some trawlers do limited volume, but it is as far as then the whole Norwegian frozen at sea fillet fleet goes. I mean, it's extremely limited volume of safe Norway delivers to the UK of safe fillets. Hardly anything.
So it'd be H&G.
H&G, yeah. And not a lot of H&G safe goes to the UK either. We sell a lot. It mostly gets sold to processors in Norway.
Yeah.
Who process, dried salted products. It is becoming more popular in retail also. Safe, which is a big change compared to 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Where that didn't seem to be the case anyway. So that's good. The site is getting, it's getting more exposure. People are wanting it more. And as I said, I think it could be a fantastic addition to cod and haddock in fish and chips.
So in terms of volume, would you say you catch more cod or haddock or the other species? What would you say is your biggest catch?
Cod for certain. Cod is by far the species which we have most quota and is currently easier to catch and also gives us the most income, which is also a factor, obviously. And cod and haddock is we catch that October, November, December, January, perhaps February, and then the very main top season is November, December, January. That's when all the vessels are really focused on cod and haddock, whereas Ling is more of a spring summer species.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how much of a problem is it when obviously the quotas on cod this year have been dropped a little bit? What is it to? Is it to 800,000 ton? I think this year.
from last year to this year, for us here in Norway, in the Barents Sea, Norway and Russia, the quota was increased.
Oh, okay.
And because of this Brexit issue, the Brits lost some quota, didn't they? Which then the Norwegian longliners got instead. So I mean, in terms of cod, we've been in a fantastic position this year, but it is expected that the cod quota will be put down next year.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, as it goes, ICES comes with an advice in October, and then Norway and Russia have got to listen to ICES to a certain extent, and then we as coastal states we negotiate, and you don't normally end up with if ICES say 20%, I wouldn't sort of put my money on and think that it will be reduced with 20%, but perhaps it will be somewhere in between.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
So we've had much more cod this year compared to what will be the case next year.
Okay. So the talk of the town at the moment, well, the talk of every town at the moment that's selling fish and chips or buying cod or haddock, is the haddock shortages. You discussed it. You were great. You supplied some information for an article that we wrote. So there's a bit of confusion about, and we can't get our head around what's causing the haddock shortages. In your mind, give us a little bit of an insight into the haddock shortages.
Yeah, well, I can try anyway. I think it's just worth sort of starting with just saying that the northeast Arctic haddock, has been stated by ICES as highly reproductive, and there are good stocks which are sustainably harvested. So that lies there. And this is the haddock type, which is caught north of 62 degrees, which is the haddock type which all Norwegian frozen at sea fillet producers, produce fillets from. And of course, it's quite difficult to talk about how the haddock fishery has evolved over the last few years because the Barents Sea is so massive. I mean, the distance from east to west is enormous, and every fishing ground is different and unique. But I could, for example, if I'm going to say something, it would be to sort of compare our round catches with our Leinebris in December 2018, 2019, and 2020. As I said, it doesn't tell the full story about the whole fishery, but it's only our experience, but it gives a little insight. And when we unloaded in December 2018, around 99% of our haddock catch was above 800 grams. 1% of our haddock catch was below 800 grams. It was like winning the whole lottery. And said in an easy way, the haddock above 800 grams, you will happily produce fillets from. If it's below 800 grams, it becomes a challenge, and we would rather focus on H&G production. So in December 2018, with all that lovely big haddock, all the shops in Yorkshire, they got their skinless haddock 1632 without a problem. If you fast forward 1 year to December 2019, the catch volume was nowhere near the same as the previous year, and the sizing was different. Suddenly 60% of the haddock was above 800 grams instead of 99%, and the rest was below 800 grams. Another year later, in December 2020, the fishery was even worse. Now it was more or less a 50-50 breakdown. So you've seen the change gradually. And why did we see this change? I can't say that. I don't think anybody can say this is the reason why. But at least the haddock year classes of 2004, 2005, and 2006, they were very, very strong. And it is very likely that these were the haddocks which we caught in December 2018. So these old haddocks, they are now caught, they aren't there anymore, and we are seeing smaller haddocks coming through, new year classes. So this is just a circle of life, really. And I'm getting into a lot of numbers here, but of course, but at least it's the 2016 year class which is strong and dominant in the Barents Sea now. These haddocks are around 5 years old, and according to Norwegian scientists, I mean, their average weight in February was around 800 grams, and by the turn of the year, they will now weigh around 1 kilo. So we are moving in the right direction. And the 2017 year class is good also. So I'm, pretty confident that at some point we will be able to produce nice big fillets again, because we've got these strong year classes coming through. And this is also a sign that Norway and everybody are protecting the ocean, and you are making sure that new year classes are coming through also. So that's sort of at least my little take on the crazy question.
So, because from what I understand at the moment, there's not really an issue with small haddocks, is there? So, for the most part, the Scottish fishermen I'm talking to are saying there is lots of small haddocks. That the frozen at sea merchants, let's say, that the people that supply your product to the shops, they're saying if you want 5 to 8 or whatever, the haddocks, they're easy to get. Yes, the price is dearer, but you can get them. The problem is the bigger fillets. So in basic form, you're saying by next year, the year after, that starts to correct itself. So do you think, has it been, I don't want to use the terminology overfished, but has too much been taken out? Or is this just a normal cycle, do you think?
No, normal cycle, absolutely normal cycle. It's just a circle of life, because a haddock is born, it grows, it becomes old, and gets caught or dies, and the new one comes along. So this is perfectly normal, and that's why the haddocks that were, call it, born in 2004, 2005, and 2006, they were strong, really good year classes. We had a lot of pleasure from them as fishermen, and you guys had a lot of pleasure from them as fryers and consumers. And then you've had, and we had this top then in 2018 when they were mature, they were old, they were big, but their time was up, and now the haddocks that are born in 2016, they are the ones that are coming through, and they're looking strong, and will give us a lot of pleasure going forward.
So roughly in your mind then, and from the scientists in Norway, it's a 5-6 year turnaround for a nice 1 kilo haddock, let's say, or anything above 1 kilo. So if the 2016 class was born then, let's say, and they're doing okay, and hopefully by next year they'll be 1 kilo-ish, let's say. Do you foresee a problem in another 5 years' time when we sort of, because if this is a cycle, do you see that maybe people should just keep their eyes open for like these cycles?
Fishery is always a cycle. It is, but it's impossible to predict. I think it's impossible to predict a year ahead, let alone 5 years. So I can't really say. I won't get my hopes up. I won't be too negative. But at least what we do now, what is a fact is that that the scientists consider the 2016 year class to be good. The 2017 is strong also, and they will grow. These haddocks will grow. They will grow year on year, and it will come a time again where the haddocks are bigger, and it is easier for a vessel to produce fillets, and not only H&G.
How do you avoid these certain classes? How does the fisherman say, right, stay away from there? Or is it, how do you monitor them to see? Just a technical question, because it's interesting to me.
Well, what can I say? When you are fishing, let's say around Bear Island or in the Russian Zone or wherever in the Barents Sea, there are certain parts which are closed, which you can't go into. Okay. But if a fishing ground is open, and we go there with Leinebris, and we shoot our line, which is many miles, and you got 50,000 hooks on the line, you can't control which year class is taking the bait and biting the hook. So you can't control that. And I think really that situation in 2018 when we got all that big haddock, that was of course it was some know-how, but it was also a little bit of luck also, because you could know for certain that these old big haddocks were far east in the Barents Sea and not west, for example. So I mean, when you're shooting the line or you are trawling, you get what you get. But the fishing ground you are in, there you are allowed to catch that. That's not a problem.
Yeah, I see. If
that answered the question.
A little bit. It just gives us a little bit of information at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the confusing thing is as well is that, I read a report from, I think it's an Icelandic trawler, Brim, and they were saying that they couldn't catch save because there was so much haddock everywhere. And I know all seas are different. And then obviously the Icelandic Minister of Fisheries increased the haddock quota. And everything just seems to be really contradictory. And I can see how a lot of restaurants and fish and chip shops just get really confused by this, because I think everyone's just given a very mixed signal that, for example, you're saying, and you did say it was just your area and Leinebris, so you did say that, but then other parts of the fishing grounds in Iceland, let's say, they're saying they can't get through it. There's too much.
I can't speak for Iceland because they have their own fishery pattern, for example. But for us, what we do with safe doesn't it doesn't impact our haddock fishery at all, because we catch safe from the end of February until Easter. That's it, and that is normally a decent fishery. And in that fishery, we don't get any haddocks at all. And when that fishery is done, and after Easter we are finished with scythe, then we won't catch nearly another scythe at all before the end of February next year. So at least for us in Norway, the clue is the balance between cod and haddock. They are intertwined, but scythe lives a life of its own. The scythe is often caught in fishing grounds where you haven't got a lot of haddock either. For example, a lot of the Norwegian trawlers will catch their scythe in the North Sea, which is south of 62 degrees, whereas the haddock is north of 62 degrees. So that isn't an issue.
So and so the cod and haddock is always sort of together then. So you can't So it's very difficult to catch just cod or just haddock, because you're always going to catch a bit of both.
It's easy to just catch cod.
Okay.
That isn't a problem. It's pretty impossible at this very moment in time to catch only haddock. Okay. I would say it is impossible. You haven't got a chance, because there is so little haddock at the moment and such a challenge. So really, what you have to do, if you want to get a lot, or if you want to maximize your haddock fishery, you got to be careful with your cod quota also, because if you use your cod quota during the haddock season, which is during the winter, then that will give you a better chance of getting more haddock.
Yeah.
So what you don't want to do is go and fish cod in June, July, and August when there isn't any haddock. Even if you pray every day, you will not catch a lot of haddock during the summer months. So then you shouldn't use your cod. Spare the cod for October, November, December, January, because then you use the cod to get haddock also. And those are the months when the haddock is available.
I had a question in my mind, and what I'd like to do is just fill in a few gaps. So there's a lot of, you're in some of the fish and chip groups, let's say, on Facebook, and every now and then there's a question, and everyone just thinks, well, I don't know why fish is expensive, because it's a free commodity in their mind. It's not like, it's not like wheat where you have to plant the seed, for argument's sake. And, what I'd like you to do is take a moment and just give us a breakdown of all the invisible costs that people don't see. Because it's all right them thinking, oh, but the fish is free. It's in the sea. But what is it that people don't understand about your business? The fishing as well, that would alleviate some thoughts over the prices, let's say, because you're not literally just going out in a little boat and filling it up with tons and tons of fish. So give us an example of some of the costs, or even not just the cost, but the effort that you have to go to.
Yeah, well, I can try. Well, first of all, cod and haddock quota isn't something Norway gives us. It's something we have to buy, which we bought for many years ago. Secondly, you have a vessel which costs 20, 30, 40 million pounds.
Just a bit then.
You got oil, you got bait, fishing gear, you got the crew who are on a good salary, and at least in Norway we pay them well, because it's a tough job. And then you also have supply and demand. So, for example, at the moment, when you have so little haddock, you still have the same amount of buyers. You still have the retail sector in the UK, which does need a lot of haddock. You have the retail sector on the northeast coast of the US, which is equally as obsessed with haddock as in England, the UK. You have the fish and chip shops, and then of course you have food service and pubs and all that. So you have less haddock availability and the same demand. And when all these customers have got to want a species, they have to, the person or the company with the highest price gets the fish. It is really as easy as that. It isn't like a fisherman is sort of coming to port and naming his price. I want that. It doesn't work. It doesn't work like that really. And what we do in Norway is that when every single vessel comes to port with a catch, it gets weighed in. The catch gets registered and weighed in by the Norwegian officials in an independent cold store. This is a way so we can keep track on quotas, what is caught, what is left, etc. And then when you sell the fish, it goes through what you can call an auction system, and this auction system makes sure that you get a market price for it. So everything is open and done in a controlled way. And now, for example, if the haddock, if a haddock fillet is making whatever it is making per box today, it is a reason for that. It is because you have competition from other customers, whether it be in the UK, the retail sector there, or in the US, for example.
And I guess the fact is for you guys, over there in Norway, if you've got two big customers of haddock, let's say Grimsby or Boston, as in Boston, America, not Boston over here. If the one in Boston offers you, I don't know, $1 more a kilo, the fish is going there. That's a fact, isn't it? Like, and that's what people need to understand, that, you know, it is a commodity and you're going to go where the business is. And that's just a fact. And so what, you know, in some ways, this is where I always think that maybe people need to look at also different varieties, different species, but also maybe try and get the best amount of money they can get for that product too, you know, if that makes sense over here. And obviously there's other costs that are incurred when it comes to the UK, because then there's a sea fish levy and then there's transport costs and merchant costs. So it isn't just a free product that's picked up out of the sea at all, is it?
No, exactly. There are a lot of costs involved in it, and of course now we are in a sticky patch because there isn't the haddock with the right size profile for the fish and chip shops and for the retailers isn't correct at the moment. But if you turn back to 2018, when there was a load of big haddocks, I mean, you know, people weren't concerned then. You know, there was a lot of volume. Some of them were saying it was too big. We had to instead of grading 1632, we got the message. You got to grade down to 1624. You know, so it's just circle of life. This year, it will come good again.
I guess you guys. Look, if Norway, Iceland, Faroes, everyone is investing so much into, you know, staff, fleets, you know, systems, you want the best money for your product. It's a fact. You know, if I remember, I think 2010-ish maybe, I think cod was the cheapest it had ever been coming out of Norway, you know, and actually all of the places. And, you know, that's not good for you guys, is it? If it's that cheap, that's not good either. Like, you know, nobody wants to work with all that investment and, yeah, not get the return for it.
No, absolutely. I mean, it was. I think it was potentially was 20. Yeah, was it 12 or 13 or something? I mean, when it was anyway, it was when the Barents Sea cod quota was turned up to 1 million tons, and cod prices crashed. That took people out of business. I mean, you know, family companies who at that time perhaps operated several vessels. They had to sell one, for example, because it wasn't profitable. And it is very easy to think that because you have an expensive boat and because you are selling haddock at prices which people are scratching their heads about, they don't understand why it can be so expensive. It doesn't mean that that life is rosy for us either, because, you know, you have less catch rates. I mean, the volumes aren't as good. The costs go up year by year. So I think really everybody, there isn't anybody that's having a great time. We have all our issues, really. So we just got to cross our fingers and hope that better days will come, really.
Did you see the news that the Faroe fishery got MSC certified?
Yeah, I saw it yesterday. It popped up on Facebook.
Yeah, and I think a few people texted me last night, and they were saying, if there's allegedly no haddock in that area, how can it be MSC certified? Does that make sense? Have I phrased that correctly, or do you understand what I'm trying to get at?
Well, again, I can't really say too much about Iceland, but for Norway, for example, I mean, we absolutely protect our fish stock and our ocean, because, you know, fish is our heritage, it is our future. You know, we are proud fishermen, and we are the flag bearers of sustainability. And I suppose it has been said before, but it doesn't hurt to say it again. You know, regulators, industry, scientists, fishermen, we all work together to make sure that, you know, vulnerable areas are protected and fish stocks are protected in many different ways. You have scientists that head out on marine research vessels to estimate stock sizes, and, you know, they join fishing vessels like our Leinebris to study the fish class up. You have the Norwegian Coast Guard that spends a lot of time making sure that the fishing activities are carried out at the right time, in the right areas, with the right equipment. On land, for example, you have the Norwegian Directorate of Fisheries that inspect vessels at sea and also when they come to port. Another thing, our vessel has been a member of the so-called Norwegian Reference Fleet for many years, which is a small group of vessels that provide the Institute of Marine Research with detailed information, biological information from the fishing grounds on a regular basis. So there is really an enormous information base about stocks and the fish, and you set the quotas according to this, and you fish and catch according to the set quotas. So I mean, this works, and this is fantastic.
Yeah. So if everything goes right, then the next year, 2 years, 3 years, with everything going on in the world, so the next 2-3 years, everything should restore back to normal, hopefully. yeah, hopefully, So, but what are your fears for the future? Obviously, you said what you're optimistic about, but is there anything that you're worried about? Like, obviously we've gone through Brexit. Obviously, hopefully COVID is going to be behind us soon. Hopefully your 2016, 2017 classes get stronger and bigger. So is there anything that could derail that progress?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm always an optimist anyway, so I can't see anything. I can't see anything popping up on the horizon. I mean, we are talking about wild fish. It will live its life of its own anyway, no matter what we say and hope and think. But the stocks are well managed, and there's no reason why these year classes that are coming through, who have been called strong, and they will continue to grow. So if we come through Brexit and the pandemic and all this stuff here, then crikey, it has got to be hope for the haddock then.
Yeah, definitely. So one thing I wanted to understand is I think a lot of people have this image of the Norwegian fishing fleet being very small, very big, very highly controlled, maybe also a little bit like, with that, forgive me for giving this expression, but almost like you control the market a bit like OPEC. Dispel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I think because that's the image that I say fish fries see from this side. So how would you dispel those myths?
Oh, wow. We have around 25 frozen at sea longliners. Of these 25 frozen at sea longliners, you have 4 longliners that can produce fillets, and you have 3 Norwegian trawlers that can produce fillets. So you have the longliners, you got Leinebris, Geir, Atlantic, Østerfjord, and the trawlers, Ramoen, Langoy, and Granite. And all these here are family companies, normal, boring people like me, and my father-in-law. And I often feel that when I sell our fillet stock, I feel that we are often, it is the Russians that set the pace, that if it's high or low, and the pricing. So and in all fairness, I think all us Norwegian vessels, I mean, we have such a long history with the UK. We've had that for many years, and we want that for many years to come, that I've certainly not considered ourselves as OPEC anyway. And I mean, at least since we came in with fillet production in 2015, we've been very lucky to have a close bond with many operators. I mean, we normally team up with Craig and Nicky at Kingfisher every May the 17th, which is a Norwegian Constitution Day, and they do their fantastic magic with our cod and haddock, and together we promote fish and chips and Norway. And we've been to Haxby many times to see the millers, and they've become, proper friends over the years. And I think it has been awesome to see their operation. I've been behind the range there myself and tried to fry, which has been very inspiring. And of course, it's super cool when you see Mr. and Mrs. Collinson eat our haddock and chips in the Miller's restaurant, and you listen to David talk to his customers about our vessel and the cooperation which we have between our families. And I could go on a bit like this here, because I think the whole industry, it is very rarely that you have such a good relationship from vessel to shops as Norway has with the UK fish and chip shops. I mean, the top 10 finalists come to Norway every year on this study trip on board the vessel, and I mean, you guys are friends. So I just think it's a fantastic cooperation, really.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I agree. It's well, we need each other. That's the truth.
Yeah. For certain. And no. So I've never felt that we can control the market anyway. That's that was a new one.
There's nothing wrong with trying to get the best for your products. So there's nothing wrong with that. But that's always going to be at odds with the buyer and seller relationship. That's always. But there can still be a healthy respect in that. And
for certain.
I've been in the same room before with a potato buyer and a potato seller. And they're both giving each other a lot of stick, but they're still very good friends. And I think that's just the way it is, isn't it? You've got to have that healthy relationship.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be profitable for everybody. Otherwise, it won't work in the long run. So that goes without saying.
Yeah, it has to be a win-win. Can't be a win-lose.
It has to be a win-win.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Daniel, have I missed anything out today? Have we covered everything, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. If you are satisfied, I'm really satisfied.
Well, no, anyway. I'll probably finish this, and like 2 weeks down the line, I'll be like, I want to ask something else. But I'd love to have you on again in the future. I'd like to sort of have you on in the future when the new seasons have come through, when you've been out a bit more, and just to see what's what, and hopefully we'll see you again in England soon.
Yeah, absolutely. So we will certainly be very occupied now with the fishery. Nearly all the frozen at sea vessels from Norway are in position in the Barents Sea now. All of them have started to dip into the cod quota. It's still a little early for haddocks, and at least us with the Leinebris, we will produce fillets. September, October, November, December, January, probably February. So we have 6 months now of, fingers crossed, fillet production. We can more or less see now for certain that there will be quite a bit of cod. Fingers crossed we will see some haddocks. And we will unload this catch every 4 weeks. And we are ready for our season, and hopefully
so 6 months of hopefully some good catching, and then if we tell the people in Boston to stop buying haddock, that should be fine, shouldn't it?
That should be fine.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll stop if we ask them nicely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If you just get down on your knees and say, just stop for a few months, they will listen.
We'll send David Miller over there.
He will fix it.
Yeah, he'll fix it.
Yeah.
Well, Daniel, thank you for today, mate. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. That was very interesting, very good.
Well, it was interesting for me. You're the one that spoke. It was interesting for me. So, yeah, I think people will get a little bit from this. I think it's good.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Stella.
Have a good day. Massive thanks to Daniel for joining me today. If you want to follow him, just jump over to all our social medias. We'll have all his links there, or look at the show notes. I know you're all busy, but just take a second to click and share any of our social media feeds. It really helps others find us. If you like this episode, then chances are others may like it too. I always want to hear your feedback, so email me anytime at stelios@worldofceres.com. This podcast is brought to you by Ceres Pure Food Innovation.